Welcome to our channel latest infidelity tales. Today talk about Alina infidelity story. So, let's start. The first one entered me slowly from behind. Broad, thick, steady. While the other cupped my cheek and kissed me like I was the last woman breathing. My partner sat quietly in the armchair nearby, eyes fixed, lips slightly parted, devouring every detail as I arched back, gasping into the stranger's chest. Their skin was deep like dusk, warm and powerful. Every movement was paced with precision. Every thrust a silent vow. My hands gripped the bedsheets as if the world were slipping from under me. Two sets of hands roamed across my skin like explorers discovering sacred ground. I was no longer just a partner in a lukewarm relationship. I was something ignited. My name is Alina. I'm 39 years old, born and raised in Tucson, Arizona. I run a small artisan bakery in town and have always thought of myself as a devoted woman. My partner, Alex, is 47, an architect with a reputation for patience and composure. We've been together for 12 years. Though, if I'm honest, the last 4 have felt more like roommates performing a script than lovers sharing life. Passion, absent, connection. Muted. We moved through our days like ghosts dressed in flesh, polite but hollow, until Alex gave me the gift. It was on a rainy Saturday in March, our anniversary. I had just returned home from closing the bakery early. I expected dinner reservations, maybe a night out. I even wore a red dress that hadn't seen daylight in over 5 years. Instead, I walked into a dimly lit living room filled with candlelight and soft piano music. And 2 men. They were tall, striking, dressed in black, calm, drinking scotch on the couch across from Alex like they'd been friends for years. When Alex stood to greet me, his smile was soft, unreadable. He introduced them as Khalil and Terrence. He kissed my cheek and whispered, "Happy anniversary." At first, I didn't understand. My heart raced. I thought it was some elaborate joke. But then he spoke softly, words he had clearly practiced. "I've been planning this for months. I want you to feel again. I want you to be free." I should have said no. I should have left. Instead, I stood there, breath held, frozen in confusion and intrigue. Khalil was the first to approach, his hand brushing the small of my back, his eyes kind but burning. "You're beautiful," he said. Voice like honey poured over a drum beat. Terrence followed, taking my hand in both of his as if it were something rare and delicate. My knees weakened. Alex poured me wine, then sat back down watching. Kel leaned in, his lips brushing my neck. Slow and warm. I trembled. It had been years since someone touched me like that. Years since I had felt wanted, craved, adored. My dress slipped off easier than expected. Khalil moved behind me, gently pulling me close, his breath dancing down my spine. Terrence kissed me slow, with intent, his hands relearning curves Alex. Hadn't bothered to notice in too long. One man filled me. Think the other enveloped me. I disappeared between them. I remember the rhythm, the way they moved in harmony, indulgent and exact. Khalil's grip tightening as he drove deeper, Terrence's mouth trailing heat across my shoulder. The room spun. My breath broke into pieces. By the end of it, I was a mess of limbs and sweat and stunned silence. My hair wild, my lips raw, my mind shattered. Alex walked over. He kissed my forehead. He looked like he had given me a gift. But what he gave me was not a present. It was a fracture, a split inside of me that would not mend. The next morning, steam curled through the bathroom as I stood under the shower. The water scalding, my skin already red from scrubbing. But no matter how hard I tried, I could still feel Khalil's breath at the nape of my neck. Terrence's hands over my chest. The heat of Alex's gaze, silent and still from the corner of the room. My thighs ached. My hips bore faint, purple bruises. And my mind, it felt splintered, like a cracked mirror trying to hold its shape at breakfast. The silence was thick enough to chew. Alex whistled an old jazz tune as he buttered his toast, acting like the night before had been a mere footnote, a scene from a dream. He didn't even look at me, just sipped his coffee and nodded. "You were incredible," he said, without a trace of irony. I couldn't meet his eyes. Later that afternoon, I passed the guest room. The sheets had been changed. The scent of cologne and skins still lingered, an intimate fog of sweat, aftershave, and something else I couldn't name. The bed was made, as if nothing had ever happened. And that's when I saw her, Sienna. She's 19, Alex's daughter from his first marriage. She had come to live with us a few weeks ago after dropping out of college mid-semester. Quiet, polite, always with her earbuds in, floating through the house like a ghost in leggings. She stood at the end of the hallway, holding a chipped mug of black coffee. She didn't speak. She just looked at me. Her eyes weren't wide with shock or confusion. They were narrow, focused, studying. It was a look I'd never seen on her before. Something calculating, something bold. Flicker of understanding passed between us. And in that split second, I knew. She had heard everything, maybe even seen. Something the walls in this house aren't thick. It's the creaks and moans, the soft cries and sharp gasps. They travel. I suddenly felt like I was naked again, except this time it wasn't pleasure that flushed my cheeks. It was guilt. I tried to act normal, reaching for the cereal box with a shaky hand, adjusting the strap of my satin robe that barely covered the proof of the night before. But I could feel Sienna's eyes follow every movement, like a quiet camera capturing it all. Alex didn't seem to notice. He just kept humming and flipping through the newspaper. Another Friday, another breakfast, another mask worn perfectly. But Sienna, she didn't wear a mask. Later that day, as I folded laundry in the living room, she stepped in without warning. The light from the window lit her hair gold. Arms were crossed, jaw tight. "Those men," she said quietly, "they were here for you, weren't they?" My hands froze over a bath towel. The air turned cold. I swallowed but couldn't find the words. "I heard things," she said, her voice thinner now, almost trembling. "Last night I expected judgment or anger. What I heard was something else. Hurt, maybe. And something darker. Strange glimmer of envy." "You sounded like someone else," she added, like a woman who didn't care, who was listening. She sat on the couch beside me, her knee brushing mine. "I never knew you." "Not really." I finally turned toward her. Her eyes were glassy. But her lips, there was a faint, curious smile. "Why would he do that for you?" she asked. Why would he just watch? The question was a knife. She wasn't just disturbed. She was intrigued, and I knew right then. She had stepped to the edge of the same cliff I had jumped from, and she was thinking about leaping. That night after dinner, I found her in my bedroom. She wasn't rifling through drawers or sneaking around. She was standing calmly in front of my vanity mirror, holding one of my perfume bottles in her hand. The one I had worn that night. Sprayed it on her wrist, closed her eyes, and smiled, slow and content, as if inhaling a memory that wasn't hers. When she noticed me watching, she didn't jump or blush. She turned her gaze to the mirror, locking eyes with mine through the reflection. "I wonder what it felt like," she said softly, "to be the center of everything." My stomach nodded. I should have said something, anything, but I couldn't, because part of me, the part that had awakened that night, understood her curiosity. I hadn't just opened a door. I had left it swinging wide, and Sienna was now standing in the threshold, eager to peek inside. Alex continued his routine like nothing had shifted. He still had flowers on the kitchen table every Friday. White lilies always tied in a blue ribbon. But they no longer felt like love. They felt like offerings, an attempt to silence the memory of what he had unleashed. He barely touched me now. He would kiss my cheek and murmur goodnight, but his fingertips had forgotten my skin. He'd freed me from the cage of our dull marriage, only to watch me fly somewhere he couldn't follow. But it was Sienna who changed the most. Her clothes shifted. Once all hoodies and leggings, now sheer blouses, silk skirts, red lipstick on Sundays. Her walk became slower, more deliberate, her words fewer, but heavier. And when she passed me in a hallway wearing my old silk robe, the one I wore that night, I said nothing. Not because I didn't want to, but because I saw something in her eyes, a dare. She was mimicking me, studying, rehearsing, and I was watching myself from a younger body. Then came the night it all cracked open. Alex had left for a supposed business dinner in the city. It was just Sienna and me at home. I had kept to myself all evening, locking myself in the office, pretending to work. I didn't want to see her. Not when her eyes mirrored a hunger I had once indulged. Around 9 p.m., I heard the front door open. Assuming Alex had returned early, I stepped into the hallway and froze. It wasn't him, Kel and Terrence. Same suits, same calm confidence, same heat behind the eyes. But this time, Alex wasn't with them. And standing at the doorway, greeting them with ease and a small smirk, was Sienna. She had invited them. I stood in the dark hallway, numb, breath shallow, unable to move. I watched her pour them wine. She laughed, light, flirty. She twirled her hair, leaned forward, let Khalil tuck a strand behind her ear. Every move was familiar. Every glance. Every pause, every whispered joke I had taught her. And then she turned her head. She looked toward the shadowed hallway where I stood, hidden. She knew I was there. She wanted me to see. I backed away slowly, heart hammering, and locked myself. In the bathroom, my mistake was not buried. It had taken root. And it was growing in her now, stronger, bolder, shameless. It was nearly midnight when I finally stepped out of the bathroom. The house was quiet, too quiet. The soft hum of the heater filled the silence. But I could feel the weight of what had happened hanging in the air like thick fog. Khalil and Terrence were gone. Sienna's bedroom door was shut. Alex's car still wasn't in the driveway. I climbed into bed, every part of me trembling. Not from fear, but from realization. I wasn't just a woman who had made a mistake. I was a flame that had set the entire house on fire. By morning, Alex was home. He didn't greet me, didn't speak. He just sat at the kitchen table with a plain white envelope in front of him, his face unreadable. I felt like a criminal walking into a courtroom. I sat down across from him and reached for the envelope with shaking fingers. Inside were photographs, blurry, grainy, taken from what looked like a hidden security camera. Maybe from the smoke detector in our bedroom or a corner shelf I had never inspected closely. But despite the poor quality, they told everything. It's the night of our anniversary. Me, them. The act, but beneath those new photos, Sienna. With the same two men, in the same room, same shadows, same bed. My breath caught in my chest. My mouth opened, but no words came out. When I looked up, Alex was already gone. The door was wide open, his suitcase missing. And just like that, the illusion of our life cracked, caved in, and disappeared. The silence he left behind was in peace. It was punishment. I had shattered something sacred. Not just a marriage, but trust. Not just a home, but the reflection I once recognized in the mirror. I lost everything. And the worst part wasn't that I had fallen. It was that I had dragged someone else into the fire behind me. Sienna had been curious, lonely, searching, and instead of protecting her, I had fed that hunger with my own mistakes. She had followed the trail I left like breadcrumbs. And now she carried the same scorch marks I did. Only hers were fresher, rawer, and more dangerous. As I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the torn envelope, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't the end of a story. It was the beginning of another. The torch I thought I could carry and extinguish in secret had been passed on. And there was no undoing it. We sincerely thank you for joining us for today's special story. If you enjoyed it, we kindly encourage you to subscribe to our channel. Give this video a thumbs up and share your reflections in the comments below. Your continued support inspires us to bring you more meaningful and engaging stories every single day. And click on the video above to see more inspiring stories, my dear.